All right, the IPL is done and dusted, and so perfect time for us to reveal our teams of the tournament. Lots of players to choose from. It wasn't easy, at least for me, but it's going to be fun to talk about. Where do you want to start?
Yeah. No. I think you raised a good point there. Lots of players to choose from. I know before the pod, we've been sort of spitting out names here and there. There was a lot of good players this tournament, a lot of new players as well who made an impact. So, I think this will be a very, very interesting discussion. So, Tron, did you want to go start from the top, talk about some of the openers we've chosen from our side?
All right, openers. Okay, this was probably the toughest season to pick openers. Openers were extremely tough for me to pick, but I think there was one that for sure stood out, and I don't know if you agree. Hopefully, you do. Sai Sudarshan. I think He's a lock. I think he finished with the orange cap.
Coach Cap, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, no,
that's
I agree.
so I have
I
him there as number one. We'll talk about two, but I want you to chime in.
Yeah, no, completely agree. He was a lock in, and I think he had one of those marquee seasons, which has really stamped his name not only in the IPL but in Indian cricket. So I think 100% he played extremely well and such a class C player as well in terms of his stroke play. But no, 100% locked in. Sai Sudarshan, what a tournament for him, and I really think now is the way he makes those big strides in international cricket.
59 runs and an average of 54.21. That's a 50 every innings. That's insane.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm glad we're off to a good start. All right, number two. So, do you want me to go? Do you want to? Because I found this really hard.
Yeah, no. I'll be like candid as well. It was tough on my end, and I'll spit some names out that I thought of as well. Mitch Marsh, incredible season from his side. In terms
Yeah,
of batting, and I
yeah,
know we said this before. If he could bowl, he would walk in any squad. But unfortunately, his bowling is not up to par. And then also you had players like Prabh Simran Singh, who in Punjab played
yeah.
extremely well, and he was a big part in why they made it so far ahead. But 18th season, number 18. I chose Virat Kohli. And the reason I chose Virat Kohli was because he brings that batting stability that I want a team to have. I'm not a big fan of the SRH types of, you have those 0 to 200 players in all, like from 1 to 8. I
Hmm.
think you need some stability, some people who can understand the game, play at their pace depending on the pitch and whatnot. So for me, my second opener will be Virat Kohli. And I'm not sad about that. I'm really happy because
Yeah,
we saw what he did in the final. He read the pitch and he played
yeah.
accordingly.
Okay. I can see that. I can see that. Not upset about that. Can never be upset about having the king in your lineup. So I want to give some other shout outs. We also can't forget Aiden Markram. I think
Yes,
he had a sleeper season. He started off a little slow, but then he woke up suddenly, and then Mitch Marsh and him just had amazing partnerships. I think if Shubman Gill and Sai Sudarshan, Shubman Gill, shout out to him too. If they didn't have the season they had as openers, you're looking at the Lucknow openers as like the next best opening pair along with the Punjab pair, right? So, you could add them there. Uh, Shout out to the 14-year-old kid, Surya Vanshi.
Rajasthan
made a
Royals.
made a splash this season. He could have easily walked into this too, but
Yep,
the Royals didn't have the greatest season, so you got to give some value for that, how the team fared, right? So
100%.
yeah, so I was debating between the King and Phil Salt as opening partner. Because I think I like your perspective on having stability, and I think Sai Sudarshan will give me that, at least with my squad.
Okay, fair.
So I'm going with the swashbuckler in Phil Salt because I think he may have not had a lot of big innings, but he had a lot of impactful innings. He would get off RCB to a great start in the power play for the most part, and he was definitely missed during those few days that he was away. I think the for the birth of his child, and when he walked back, you could see the immediate impact that he was having. Even when he was making his 20s and 30s, it was off 12, 13, 14 balls, and RCB already had 50, 60, 70 in the power play, right? So I think that was really impactful. And you could see that in the final too. He only made 20, I think, in the final. but still, it gave RCB enough of a boost to eventually get to 190, right? So that's who I'm naming, Phil Salt.
No, no, I think that's a great choice. And you mentioned the final, but also qualifier number two against Mumbai Indians. He really took down Bumrah. So no,
Yes.
I completely, I no quarrels with that choice. So I think good choice. And hey, we both chose one from RCB. So we got some people from Bangalore. Okay, team is one down. Who's your number three?
Number three, Josh Butler and
Locked in. Same.
wicketkeeper. Nice,
Yeah.
nice,
Yeah. Can we
nice.
talk about the season he had?
Yeah, he had an amazing season. Like living in the shadows of Sai Sudarshan and Shubman Gill, but every time he came in, it's like every time an opposition broke the opening partnership, you instead of feeling a sense of relief, you're like, oh fuck, now we got Josh Butler to deal with. It was like one of those seasons, and he feels like he's playing with a lot more freedom now. That he's no longer the England skipper, and he's doing well with England too right now. I
Yes.
think the
He
first
scored like a 90
T20I against West Indies,
96.
96. Yeah, yeah, great season from Josh. I think it was one of those seasons that reminded me of his time in Rajasthan, like back in the day. So yeah, pretty happy for him.
Okay, no, so I'm glad we both align on that one. Okay, now the instrumental 4 and 5. I'll go first.
Mhm.
Number 4 for my end, who's also my captain of my team, Shreyas Iyer. I think he had an incredible season with Punjab, and he was a big part in their win against Mumbai as well as the regular IPL season. So for my end, Shreyas Iyer, I know he didn't have obviously the best final, but you gotta everyone does have an off day. But for my end, Shreyas Iyer is number 4, and my number 5, I'm going with Sky. I think Sky had a great season, and he was reliable for Mumbai as well. I know I changed up the ordering here and there, but my number 5 is Sky, and my number 4 is Shreyas Iyer.
So I have the same names, just in the other positions. So
Fair,
I have them swapped. Yeah,
fair.
you can't go wrong with either. I think you can have them anywhere. So yeah, I think that's self-explanatory. Shreyas, you said is captaining the squad too, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. Same for me. Yeah, he's gonna be my captain for the squad. The fact that he himself has helped three different teams to an IPL final is an insane stat. He may not have won all of them, but just to captain three different IPL franchises to a final is insane to me.
So he's
So
our LeBron.
he's our LeBron. He never has to be traded though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
That's the one difference.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So yeah, I have Ayer there, and then Sky again, fabulous season. I think have his stats up here. So Sky, if you thought Sai Sudarshan was amazing, Sky, yeah, slightly shorter on runs, 717, but his average is 65. A 65 average. That is insane, especially in the middle order where you may not get to face the deliveries that the top order does. To have that stat
Yes.
is insane. And he had a couple of fabulous games where he sort of held Mumbai's batting together and knew exactly when to go big and knew how to play the middle overs, the spinners. Like he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, yeah, and like I think you raised a good point there where he was instrumental in that stability. But one other name that came to my mind, and obviously, 5 and 6, I know we still have to talk about 6, but Namandir, I think, was a big part of Mumbai's limited success this year. And I think he is will be a good shout for the future as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we got to talk more about that later. Because I might have a surprise for you, which I think I just revealed.
All right, all right. No, let's go, let's go. So we're after. Now we're at
Well,
6 and 7 now.
I do want to add more to Sky though. If you may recall, coming into the season, he was under pressure for being out of form. Because he wasn't doing
Yes.
well in the India blue colors either, and there was a lot of talk about his batting form, and he's turned it around completely.
Yes, 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 yes. No, I completely agree with that because I think we may have talked about that in the initial
Yeah,
IPL pods of his
yeah.
struggle, and no, he definitely turned that around, and uh, t- it did sort of, the storyline was there in the initial parts of Mumbai's success. Sorry, in the initial parts of Mumbai's IPL season, but that tail end burst that they had, Sky was a huge part of that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's talk. How do you want to do this? Six, seven, eight, or you just want to do six and then seven, then eight, like that?
Let's go. Let's take our time. Let's take our time with this one, okay? So I'll start with number 6. So this is where I was like, my head was everywhere. I thought about Brevis. He had a good season as well,
Ah,
but
he did.
I look at my team
Yeah.
and I do have stability, right? But with Kohli at the top, but I do need some impact, and I do need a swashbuckling player coming
Okay.
in. So
Okay.
I'm choosing Nicholas Puron. Okay, he had I would say a season not living up to his high expectations, but I think he still had a great season, and he's one of those players where I think 1 out of 3 innings he'll give you a match-winning innings. So in my eyes, this is my second international player. I'm adding Nicholas Puron.
Okay. So here's where I was having trouble too, and I tried to find players from like the top teams.
Okay.
Um, so I went with I went with Tim David. I went with Tim David.
Fair,
I
fair,
went with
fair,
Tim
fair,
David at
fair.
number six. You could have him coming at seven too, depending on the situation.
Yeah.
And I'd give a quick shout out to Heinrich Klaassen.
Oh, yes, yes, sir. Yes,
He
sir.
didn't have as consistent as a season, and that led to SRH's downfall. But he picked it up towards the end, and SRH went from bottom of the table to literally a game or two away from the playoffs
Yes,
if they
yes.
had a few more games in hand. So, so can't forget about his season. But yeah, I'm going with Tim David just because he had such a big impact again on RCB's run.
Yep.
Where whenever he came in, I remember that one innings, like he came in and he made a 50, and it was his first 50 of the tournament. I forget who it was against, but the way he was hitting the ball was so clean, and every time he came in, he chipped in with runs, and he's a gun fielder too. So yeah, I got Tim David in it.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so that was our number 6, right?
Yeah, yeah. So on to number
Okay.
seven.
On
Who
to
you
number
thinking?
7.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is where my bowlers start coming in, but this
you have a
player
long tail. You have a
But
long
but
tail.
this player could bat a little bit, and I think he's one of those iconic players from this season in particular because he, I think, exceeded expectations. Kunal Pandya. For
Okay, I
me,
got him too. I
I'm
got
bringing in
Gurnal.
Kunal Pandya. I'm
Yeah,
bringing in Kunal Pandya. I think he had
yeah.
like 17 or 18 wickets,
Yes, yes,
right?
and he's the all rounder for me in the squad. Like
Yeah,
I'm taking him as an all rounder. He had a game where he won it with Virat Kohli.
yeah,
Remember
yeah,
that
yeah,
one?
yeah. No, no,
That?
yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yes.
and he's one of those players that just show up when it's needed, like as he did in the final. And I think before this season, his highest wicket taking season in the IPL was only 12 wickets. So he's obviously way above his best at in like previous iterations of the IPL. But happy for him, and we saw what he did in the final. But yeah, I'm glad that we both aligned with Kunal Pandya as our number 7.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Yeah, I needed that all rounder in there, so I'm happy to squeeze him in. And yeah, he had a stellar season living in his own shadow and not Hardik's. So that was nice to see.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, number eight. I'm gonna
Boom,
go.
boom.
Do you want to go? Because I
You
want.
go, you go.
So I'm going. I picked another batsman because I have an impact
Oh,
sub. I
okay,
have an impact
okay,
sub which we'll talk
okay,
about.
okay,
But so my lineup is more so if you're batting first,
okay.
or I guess if you're batting second, if you're batting. So I got Naman Deer at number eight.
Great shout.
Yeah, I got Naman.
Great
I
shout.
thought
Great
about
shout.
Nihal. But Neil Vadera mostly batted at number four, number five. He had a super season too for Punjab,
He
and it
did.
was hard
He
to
did.
squeeze him in the middle order. We should have given him a shout out earlier,
I
but
agree.
can't forget about Vadera. He had a super season.
Yes, yes, yes. Wadera for sure. Quick shout to him. Great, great, great. IPL campaign for him. Um, but no, two. I think both are uncapped, right? Uncapped Indian players.
Yeah, uncapped Indian players. Yeah, last year that spot would have been taken by Ramandeep, who then ended up getting
Ah,
a cap for
call
India.
out. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I think Namandir is he seems to be a better batsman than Ramandeep. I have a feeling Ramandeep Singh may lose his spot with the Indian team. That's a separate conversation. But Namandir looks a player. He looks like an Indian version of Tim David, if that makes sense.
Yes, 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 yes. No, I completely agree. And like, I think he's been part of the Mumbai camp for a few years, right?
Yeah,
And I want to say, like, you could see players get really polished in that setup.
yeah,
No,
yeah. And
I agree.
you could see because Mumbai had Tim David and they released him, and Namandir plays that position. Number
Yeah.
seven, number eight comes in with like 20 balls left in the innings, and he tries to score as many as he can. Right, so you could sense that they did trust him enough to retain him over Tim David, which is amazing.
Yes, yes. No, no. So I have no quarrels about that one. So again, we can talk about the impact player because I did my 11 without that in mind. But for me, obviously bowlers coming in now, and I don't think you can go away with Boom Boom Bumrah. I
Okay.
know he was a little expensive in a few games here and there, but if you're making a team of the tournament, you gotta have Bumrah in my eyes. So
Okay.
for me, Bumrah is coming in at number 8.
Okay. Okay. So awesome. So I guess we should go through the lineup and then talk about the impact sub that would
Sure,
come in.
sure.
Because
Yep.
your batting lineup is or sorry, your bowling your tail is long. Your tail is really long. So you probably want to have an impact sub as a batter. So
Yes.
let's go into number 9, 10, 11. That's so your bowlers, right? That's all
Yes.
bowlers.
All bowlers from my end.
So the who you got? I think we both are set on one of them, Hazelwood. Hazel God.
Yeah, a
Hazelwood.
100%, 100%. What a season from him! And
Yeah.
I know again we mentioned this in the last part as well. We didn't give that type of bowler flowers when we were talking about the initial teams, but critical and clinical, and that's what Hazelwood is. So no, Hazelwood walk in the IPL's team for I think for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So we're good there. So who you got as your number 10, 11? You probably need a spinner in there, another spinner.
I do, but let's talk about the. It's now the purple cap winner. I
Okay.
had it Prasid
Yes.
Krishna, and you got to
Yes.
give him a shout out because he did take the most wickets.
Yeah.
And obviously, didn't give him the flowers, but he did kill it with being clinical with wickets. So no, 100%. I have Prasid Krishna in there from my end. Do you have Prasid
Yep.
Krishna as
I
well?
have Prasid Krishna in there. I think he had a super season for GT. Every time he got the ball, you felt like something was going to happen. He also won GT a few games too by
Yeah.
just his bowling. And I think it bodes well for India too because he is one of those bowlers that he's fast, he's slippery, he gets bounced, he can swing it if needed, and would be a great replacement for a Bumrah in the T20I if needed. If that makes sense, it's not like for like. It'll never be like for like, but it's the closest thing in terms of like he has the speed that Bumrah does as well. So yeah, I like him at number 10. So who's your spinner at 11?
Well, I had to get some representation from Chennai. And because of the fact that they won the Fair Play Award. So, my team has to have someone from the team that won the Fair Play Award, which in my eyes, I don't know how they calculate that. I don't know if you do. Maybe that's a separate pod. But
Yeah.
for me, it's Noor Ahmed.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I saw him being named in quite a few teams. Okay, so I'm not. I don't disagree with that. I think that's a great shout. He had a great season. But again, I'm
Gotcha.
putting weight on teams that did well. Having said that, it was hard for me to find another spinner because you could say like Suyash, but Suyash was hot and cold. There were
Yes.
some games that he didn't play. I don't know if Bangalore trusted him as much as they did towards the end of the tournament. In the beginning, some games he didn't even play. Um, and then there was another spinner, Yuzi Chahal, Par Punjab. Again, good season, not a great season, right? So I'm going with the newcomer um, from a team that didn't do that well. He made all the headlines with some controversies. Yes, yes. Mr. Right off the signature himself, Igwe Sharati. I think he had a great season. He's a character on the field. And he was Punt's go-to at times for when he needed a wicket in the middle overs. And I think he did a stellar job for him being his first season. I wouldn't be able to squeeze Noor in my squad again just from the not impact, the foreign player cap of 4 players.
Yep.
So I'm gonna have Rati in there at number 11. And then notice that
No,
I didn't
fair.
have one player in there that you had.
Which one? Who am I forgetting?
Bumrah. I don't have Bumrah in
Yes,
my
you don't
team.
have Bumrah. You're right.
I
You
don't
don't
have
have Bumrah.
so yeah, I have another caveat. So we should probably talk about the impact sub
Yes,
now.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
he's my impact sub, and the reason why I
Okay.
have him as my impact sub is he didn't play all the games for
No,
one, right? He was injured for most of the tournament, and obviously when he came and he did so well, it made such a big impact to Mumbai's bowling attack that helped Mumbai reach the playoffs. So you can't discount that. So that's why I have him as an impact sub.
fair. No. That's fair. That's 100% fair. That makes sense. Okay, so now I guess because my initial 11 was not taking into account the impact player, but to your point, impact player was such a big part of IPL, and I think it's
Yeah,
here to stay.
yeah.
So how would I look in my squad now? I think right at the top of my head, I might put, to your point, I might have either
You need a
Bumrah.
batter.
Yeah, I might either put Bumrah or Josh Hazelwood as my impact player, like in
Yeah,
terms of subbing them out.
yeah.
And if I were to take in a batter, I think the name that at least comes to my mind, Shashank Singh.
Oh,
Shashank
oh.
Singh. I think he's one of those players that maybe stayed a little bit under the radar, but
Left field choice. Jeez.
yes, left field choice. But I did think that he was a big part in Punjab's success. And I know he obviously took Josh Hazelwood down in sort of the 4 balls that didn't really matter. But I
Yeah.
think that kind of showed what he could do, and he did some of that in the earlier parts of the tournament. So from my eyes, I probably, at least from the top of my head, put Shashank Singh in there.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's a sleeper pick for sure. I would have not thought about that.
What were you
Uh,
thinking? Jitesh
I
Sharma potentially?
sorry.
Jitesh Sharma?
Jitesh Sharma did cross my mind. Jitesh Sharma. I thought because you didn't have Tim David in there, right?
Oh, that's a good shout. Yeah,
I would
Tim
have
David
had
as well.
Tim
Yeah.
David or even no, you already had Namandir, so you
No, I
could
didn't.
Tim David would have been
I
a
didn't have
good.
them. I didn't have them, dude.
You didn't have Namandir?
I
Oh, you
never
gave him a
did.
shout. Yeah, so Namandir too.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Namandir too. Because those are the perfect players for the impact sub position.
And this rule is so fascinating because, like, obviously now we're taking it into consideration for my team, but just our discussion right now just shows there's so many permutations, there's so many
Yeah.
combinations.
Yeah. Yeah, and you saw that with the teams that reached the finals, like Punjab and Bangalore had deep batting lineups. We had Stoinis coming at 7, sometimes at 8. Omar
Yeah,
Zai would come in at 8 and 9 sometimes. It was crazy. And then Bangalore too, you have Tim David coming at 7 or 8, which
yeah.
is insane to think about. So it definitely has an impact. The impact some no pun intended. But at the same time, the con I do agree with this con of it is the fact that this, if you think about, and we talked about this offline, if you think about batting all rounders or bowling all rounders, you have more bowling all rounders than you have a batting all rounder. Hardik Pandya obviously comes to mind, but even him, he barely bowled this season compared to how he generally bowls himself. I don't know if it's injury related or just the fact that he had enough bowlers at hand that he
I
felt
agree.
he
I
didn't need to
agree.
bowl, right? That's
I
the
agree.
problem. That's the problem. Nitish Kumar Reddy didn't bowl as much as he should, and he needs to bowl. India needs someone else outside of Hardik Pandya. Ramandeep Singh, classified as an all-rounder, barely bowled this season either, right? So we're losing out on the all-rounder, I feel, due to this rule, and I just hope that those players that I named that generally are ones that do both continue doing that in the other teams that they play with, whether it's domestic or other franchises, because we may that will impact the no pun intended the international teams going forward because you're not going to have as many good all rounders.
No, and I completely agree with that. I think the all rounder is such an important part of international cricket that needs to stay. And if you look at some of the players that we grew up with, two quick players coming to mind: Kapil Dev, Jack Callis. unreal on rounders, and when they played, when they either bowled or batted, you knew something was going to happen. And sometimes those players were the differences between winning and losing because they offered you opportunities to win the games on both ends. So no, I completely agree, and it's always nice to see, you know, an all rounder take a fifer, an all rounder take a century, because it's like because you know that they can do both. So
Yeah,
no, I completely agree. I'm a big fan of an all rounder, and my biggest concern with the impact player rule is it sort of seeping in into your point in international cricket and affecting, I would say
quality.
the longer versions of play in like 100%. So no, I completely agree with that.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Good place to wrap it up there. There's our team of the tournament. Let us know what you think of our team. Who would you take out of our team? Who would you bring into the team? Who did we miss out on? Hopefully, you didn't miss any players that we gave a shout out to or named. But yeah, let us know in the comments below. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Until then, that's Thumbs.